Financial wellness. Reach out to them for advice at 855-DON-GINO. And now back to your hosts, Don Getling and Gino Fronti.
Well, we thank you for joining us again on the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show. For almost 6 years now, we've been helping guide you to personal financial wellness. We started this out many years ago when the whole housing market and the economy was in the tank. So we basically started the show to help give you insight of what options you have. Everybody has options, sometimes not the best, not the ones you want to take, but at least we helped you out with options. And we did that by bringing on true professionals in their field that really know what they're talking about and can help guide you to personal financial wellness. We're talking about financial planners. We're talking about college planners. We're talking about estate planners. We're talking about attorneys and insurance planners and so forth. And we have one of our favorites here. We love Reap Rickett Law Firm because they're just good people. Everybody we've had on our show now for over 5 years has really helped us from their heart and helped us guide you down the right path in very touchy and difficult situations, such as today. Don's going to share with us two more things throughout the day. One of them's child custody and how that's handled over the holidays. Very tricky situation. I know a lot of you are going through it. And then the second half of the show, we're going to talk about preparing for divorce financially. This could be whether you know you're going to step into that or feeling you're going to, or you're in the middle of it and you need some insight of how to handle that best. And Don's going to prepare us to how to get your ducks in a row and make sure you're not the one that's blindsided through the expert knowledge of Donald Sherwyn with Reap Rickett. So let's start off with the inevitable during the holidays. It's got to be the most challenging time right now with parents battling over the rights of their children during the holidays.
Well, that is an understatement. It is, as I've noticed, you always have a way of expressing things perfectly, but with a diplomacy which really can understate how difficult it can be. And that's a beautiful entry, because there are really two basic situations that parents are either have engineered or are faced with in a custody milieu around the time of the holidays. One, either they have already arranged some type of a parenting plan that says mom has the children for all of Thanksgiving weekend, dad has them for all of Christmas holiday, for the day before and the day of Christmas, in even numbered years. That's the type of breakdown you see, is an even year, odd year breakdown. That's a normal way of doing it. And the only reason why it is as prevalent as it is because it's simple. It takes away so much of the thinking and the having to decide, and it keeps as much of the emotions and flares of brilliant, destructive strategy from coming in. You've got it down in writing. This is my year because it's an odd year. This is her year because it's an even year. Whatever. If you have that, that's one way of doing it. The other way, which is very common also, is with people who really do and can keep the day-to-day, month-to-month developmental needs of their children primary, as their primary concern. And they are people that may or may not have a written schedule, but they will accommodate, they will set up the holiday schedule to really make it as good for the children as they can, for their grandparents, or for if special friends are coming into town, or their aunts and uncles giving dad a little bit more time because the great-grandmother is coming in from Minneapolis and it's the first time she's been strong enough in the last few years. Whatever it is, they will work together. That's a great situation, and it really does take an awful lot of the
unselfishness.
Well, selfishness, I don't know.
I mean, because I can see. I mean, you. It's funny. I love sitting here and listening to you because you're so explicit about the steps and how it should take, and then you throw in like. For example, you said this is the simplified method. You get it on the evens, you get them on odds and all that. Very simple, but then you add in emotions.
Yes.
And you add in things that come up. Like you perfectly said it. Well, this year Grandma's able to come out But it's funny. I see a lot of you parents out there standing firm, like, no, this is my year. And like, well, grandma's probably not making another year. So can we please let the children see grandma? And you see one parent say, I don't care. The best thing that I've heard you talk about last time we were on, it's really got to be about the children.
Yes.
What's best for the children?
Exactly. That is the main point. And that's where I think you have hit it right on the nose. Those set schedules are excellent, especially with people who have had high emotions and really believe that they, rather than the other parent, have the best interests of the children clearly in mind. Well, in my case, and in your case, and in nearly all of our cases, that's actually delusional. Everybody thinks that they are looking at their children with their best interests, but we are always motivated by our humanness. What we do that is best for the children is if we can realize that no matter what we're telling ourselves, we can always back off a notch, ask for some clear thinking advice from somebody that we trust.
That's a good idea. I didn't think about that.
Doesn't have to be your lawyer. Can be, say, your family therapist or your family minister or your great aunt who's a wise person or one of your best friends at work who's been through it and can just give you an idea, give you a little feedback about what might be best for the kids.
That's a good idea because they're like, I stood my ground, and then now I look back and that was unfortunate for my children.
That's exactly right.
Right.
Because whether or not the children are with dad or with mom, in any given year, in that child's memory and in their psychological development and in their emotional stability as they grow into adults is not meaningless, but it's much, much, much less important than we think in any given 2016 or 2017.
Right.
How their parents felt and created an atmosphere of joy and family and celebration despite what the children observed as their conflicts in the past. That is what is going to stick most in those children's mind, is that mom and dad were able to be decent to each other every Christmas, every Hanukkah, every New Year's, every Thanksgiving, every whatever holiday you celebrate. They put their own
agenda,
childish feelings about each other, what we call petty angers and resentments aside. That is what your children will remember the most clearly.
Great words from Donald Sherwyn with Reap Rickett Law Firm. I love the way you just calmly, and this is what you want from an attorney, just calmly breaks it down piece by piece, because this is a very emotional situation without a doubt. And the thing that I love that you brought up is that it's got to be for the children, and they're going to recognize, because a lot of you out there got to realize your children are very observant. You may think you're pulling the wool over their eyes and you're doing what's best for you and maybe not them, but they're going to remember that. I'm telling you right now, I remember when my parents went through a divorce, I knew stuff when I was 5 years old what was going on. You think kids don't know, don't recognize it, but they do, and they're watching you, and they're watching how you guys handle this situation and not being petty and caring about them. They're going to notice if you're really putting their best foot forward. Am I right?
You're absolutely right. My children, I have brilliant children, and they have always been very clear with me about how they experienced the way they perceived things between me and their mother. As you said, 5 years old, 8 years old, 10 years old, children are sharp.
Very, very. And they're more aware now than ever. I mean, I'm just sorry. I mean, between all the media, the social media, and everything else, they're very aware now. Yep. And they're not, So pay attention and make sure you put your children first. And that's I guess, the moral of the story, right?
It is exactly the story.
All right.
The whole story.
All right. So we got a new story coming up for the second half of the show.
It's going to be fun.
Oh, this is good stuff. All right. So, divorce is never fun to talk about, but believe it or not, either you or somebody you know is going to be involved in one. I guarantee you're going to know someone. Now, the statistics always show that 50% to 75% of all marriages end in divorce. Guess what? I got good news for you. It's actually, from what I read, 43%.
It's decreasing.
I love that.
Yep.
Very good. All right, so stay tuned. For those of you or someone that you know, because they're going to come to you and talk to you, go, how do I handle this? Hey, I heard this great radio show that just talked about how to prepare for divorce financially so you do not get blindsided. When we come back to the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show, we'll be right back.